Japan's new Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba has officially taken office ahead of another major leadership change coming up in the U.S. This week, we delve into what this means for relations between South Korea and Japan, as well as geopolitics beyond this region. Our foreign affairs correspondent Bae Eun-ji joins me here in the studio. Welcome, Eun-ji.
Thanks for having me.
So some raise hopes that the new leadership in Japan could help resolve historical disputes between Seoul and Tokyo. Well, what's your take on this? Tell us about the possible changes in bilateral relations.
Sure, Jungmin. So Shigeru Ishiba is the country's former defense minister, and he's a veteran lawmaker, but he's also seen as somewhat of a party outsider. The 67-year-old's victory raised hopes in South Korea as he's considered rather dovish when it comes to relations with Seoul. In fact, promising political reform, Ishiba pledged last week that his cabinet will maintain strong partnerships with friendly nations, including South Korea. Let's take a listen.
We would like to further strengthen the network of allies and countries, such as Japan with the United States and South Korea, the Japan-the-US agreement, and Japan, US, and the Philippines.
Ishiba has expressed relatively moderate views on historical issues, unlike the right-wing group of Japanese politicians who dismissed Japan's wartime atrocities in the 20th century. Back in 2017, in an interview with South Korean media, he even said Tokyo should continue to apologize for the wartime sex slavery until Seoul accepts those apologies. He's also expressed somewhat negative views about visiting the Yasukuni Shrine, a symbol of Japan's militarism that often becomes a source of diplomatic tensions with Korea. But experts say that although he'll focus on improving relations with Seoul, a sudden breakthrough in historical disputes is highly unlikely. This is because Ishiba is unlikely to deviate from former Prime Minister Fumio Kishida's policies, given his lack of support within the ruling party and his low approval rating.
Ishiba will likely keep nearly everything from the Kishida administration. Kishida emphasized the relations between Korea and Japan and the importance of the relationship with the United States. Given this, I think Ishiba will continue to maintain the positive momentum to improve relations with Seoul. But as for how he will address historical issues, that might not meet our expectations, so we shouldn't raise our hopes too high.
Eun-ji, eyes are now on a possible first summit between President Yoon and Prime Minister Ishiba this week when they both visit Laos to take part in the ASEAN summit.
That's right. The two leaders have already spoken over the phone last week after Ishiba held his first phone call with U.S. President Joe Biden. They agreed that a united response is needed to counter North Korean threats while promising to meet soon. Now, if they are to meet this week on the sidelines of the ASEAN summit, they'll likely discuss ways to continue improving bilateral relations, especially as the two countries mark the 60th anniversary of normalizing diplomatic relations next year. As an expert in the defense field, he may also seek stronger security cooperation across the region.
Ishiba is someone who has a personal sense of political philosophy. He's someone who will prioritize Japan's national interests. While he may be relatively weaker in domestic or economic policy, he will likely focus on achieving significant accomplishments in the security field, where he is confident.
And speaking of security, Ishiba's proposal of an Asian version of NATO during his campaign surprised many.
That's right, but the idea is widely seen as unrealistic for the time being. In a paper to an American think tank in September, Ishiba had argued for locking Washington into an Asian NATO as a way to deter China. The plan has already been dismissed by a senior U.S. official as hasty, and it's unclear whether it'll find strong support in Southeast Asia. The Ishiba administration also appears to have acknowledged this issue, with the new foreign minister saying it's not part of an immediate plan.
As for the Asian version of NATO you asked about, this is of course an idea for the future, but we still think it should be considered over time and in the medium to long term.
And what can we expect when it comes to Japan's relationship with North Korea?
After taking office, Ishiba said resolving the issue of Japanese citizens abducted by North Korea remains as the most important task. Japan continues to claim that there were at least 17 Japanese citizens abducted by the North in the 1970s and 1980s to work as language teachers for North Korean spies, and that 12 are still in the North. To resolve this issue during his campaign, Ishiba expressed his intention to set up a liaison office between Tokyo and Pyongyang. But the abductees' families have strongly opposed the idea, so it's unclear whether this will actually be established in the near future. For now, what's important for Ishiba is the general election on October 27th, which will decide which party controls Parliament's lower house. He called for snap elections so that it could take place a year early, emphasizing the need for immediate public approval of the new administration. Pundits say that his performance in the upcoming election will determine how long he'll be able to remain as the country's leader.
All right, well, we'll have to see how things play out. Thank you, Eun-ji.
Thank you.